Hi guys, thank you for joining us again for another issue of Real Estate for Real People. I'm Tamara, this is Shannon, and we are really excited to have Trisha Isabey with us today. So Trisha has a phenomenal design background. She owns Isabey Interiors and a store in town that is my absolute favorite. My husband thinks it's a gym because I have a membership there with the Visa bills that keep accumulating.
Love the strategy.
Called Furnish. Yes. So welcome.
Thank you very much.
So Trisha, maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to get into, we've got some questions wanting to talk about design trends, what you're seeing coming in, what you're seeing going out, things that you're seeing in houses right now and that sort of thing. But maybe tell us a little bit about yourself. You have not always been in this industry.
No, I actually have a financial background, which is how actually Tamara and I met way back in the day. I was a stockbroker for 15 years and had a couple of children, so sold the business, was at home, started to go mentally insane, wanted to get back into something. And I had a friend who was a developer who got me into design. So, like everything I've done in my history, I put, 180% into it and ended up building an interior design company. And now I have a Furnished by Isabey Interiors, which is our furniture store and our home decor store. And we started a construction company last December. So we're a year old, called Isabey Home. And we also have a gift box business called Furnish for You. So a little bit busy.
Just a little bit.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
how
a few
you
things
manage
on
all of that.
I don't. I have a whole team. So let's clear that up.
How many designers do you have that work with you?
Oh my gosh. I don't know how many designers. I think there's probably like 10 or 12 designers, but we're a staff of 30. Mm-hmm. So between people like my project managers for construction, their support staff, the store staff, the gift box business, and the designers.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's so incredible to see your success. And you did all of this and started it right in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Amazing.
The interior design company was older. We started that in 2013. But the store, the construction company, and the subscription box all came July of 2020 is when we started those pieces. The construction company, December. Yeah.
Amazing.
I think there's something to be said, though, for starting a business in hard times, starting with your work cut out for you. There was no room for error. You really had to be absolutely on your game.
Yeah.
And now as we're starting, let's hope to come out of this pandemic, I think you're being rewarded for your perseverance.
Yeah, I think you actually have to think differently than the crowd because during that period of time, ordering stock, a lot of stores actually canceled their product orders and ended up having a real shortage of supply. Whereas we started ordering, and it was so funny because during that period of time, I'd never been a store owner. And I was like, what should my inventory be? Should it be like $5,000 worth of inventory? And as it grew and grew, we're definitely above that.
Yes.
We have a lot of inventory. So it's worked out well for us.
Yeah, amazing. So maybe we can dive right into that and sort of talk about some of the trends. I know Tamara and I were talking ahead of time and thinking, okay, something that a lot of times we get asked, people say, okay, we want to sell our house. We have a budget to do some minor renovations of X amount. Let's say, I think we were talking 25,000. Mm-hmm. What should we do? And in your mind, what is it that people should be spending that money on?
I think kitchens are the heart of the home. So for me, I think if you're going to spend a lot of money, one of the areas that you don't really decorate a lot is your kitchen. Yeah. You can do a lot with the other rooms with pieces of furniture and rugs and all of that. But a kitchen really is, the whole thing is built in. Mm-hmm. So you're going to spend some money on your cabinetry and your countertops and your backsplash and your lighting in there. Trends, I would advise you can certainly find out what they are. We in Kelowna are never on trend. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but we're very behind. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes when something becomes a trend, it'll take 5 to 10 years for it to filter through to our area, which I don't think is a bad thing because trends are an indicator of where we're going, but they aren't necessarily an indication of what you want.
Good point.
Very
really
good point.
Distinction.
I think you have to be very careful not to follow trends, be more aware of your lifestyle.
Yes.
So we do something called a Know Your Client form, which I got from the brokerage business. You always had to do a Know Your Client form when you signed up as a client. We do the same thing for any design clients and any build clients. And we ask them 60 questions about how they live in a house. Because how you live in a house determines the materials you should have. And it determines the way the house should flow. So as an example, if you have pets, you're not going to put in a walnut floor because your pets will scratch your floor. So a lot of those pieces are more important than knowing what the latest and the greatest is.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's good, and people will ask us, it's, is it smart to spend 10,000, 20,000? Will I get it back? Where do I get it? What's really trendy? They flip through a few magazines and you're like, those bronzed appliances for a while there we were hearing.
Yes.
And maybe they are on trend
Yes.
elsewhere, but I haven't seen a house with them here other than our clients who did it.
Yes. Yeah.
And did the bronzed,
You're appealing to whoever the buyer is. Like the buyer may not be that advanced. I think that what we like to do is look at timeless design, things homes that will last through generations, because the last thing you want to do is put in something really wacky, looks really great at the time, and in 5 years you're like, what was I thinking? And the cost might be prohibitive. So if you're going to do the trends, do it in an area that's easy to change.
Yes. And probably you can do the trends with your decor.
You can.
Pillows and that sort of thing.
That's a wonderful way to do it. And I mean, for a lot of people, the furniture is the statement. The art is the statement.
Yes.
And when you change your mind, you take it off the wall or you move it out. You don't jackhammer the floor.
Yeah. Smart. So smart. Something that we often talk with clients, and people, often say, okay, I want that house, but I want a house with a white kitchen. It's something we hear of all the time. And
I think they sell for more money now.
They do. And we sort of thought 2 years ago that was kind of going away, that people were starting to go more into the cozy tones and the darker cabinets. But it's still the white kitchens. Are you seeing that as well?
Yeah, I think white's easy. And I think one of the things that I always look for in a home is white space, so that I have the ability to come home and not feel busy in my brain. And white is a color that allows you to download and to come down from your day. And I think that if you come into a kitchen, you can accent with lots of different colors, whether you have, a colored pot on your stove or you have some colored pieces on your countertop for decor. But it's artistry. When you're in the kitchen, you're creating. And so having that blank canvas is kind of a refreshing way to cook and to feel. My kitchen's white. I have a little bit of gray tones in it as well, but I've not gotten sick of that either. I think white's always going to be with us.
The neutral, white, gray, that makes sense.
Gray you have to be careful with. Gray is a mood shifter. So white is not. Gray can make you feel very down and the color is its own palette and theory. There is so much about color that'll change the way you feel about a space. If you throw red into a room, you're going to get energized. That's why I always wear red. I love that. It brings me up, gives me energy, gives me the power I need for the day. But if I'm looking at a lot of gray in a house, especially in the Okanagan where we sit and we're in a valley, we can be sitting in cloud, it can be very depressing. You're going to be a little careful there. Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
I agree.
We had a question. We put this out to a few people and said, okay, we're going to have Trisha Isabey come and talk.
Oh,
and
Lord.
We had a few people.
I didn't do it.
People were so excited.
Oh, okay.
So excited. People were like, this is great. Okay, I have a question.
No
Can you
pressure
ask
at all
this?
going forward on my answer.
So we had a client reach out and she said, I'm wondering, she has hardwood floors in her house right now. She's wanting to put in that vinyl plank that you see. And she said, can I do that? Should I do that? Okay, so
Couple
you're shaking
reasons.
your head.
Vinyl plank doesn't go away. So when you're dealing with vinyl, it hits the landfill. So right off the top, from a sustainability approach and a longevity approach, I don't agree with it. It's something that I wish they didn't sell.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah, you have to be very careful about what you're putting in your home. The other thing that I would say is that whatever you put your feet on, whatever you walk on, whatever you sit on, and what you eat next to should be the highest quality. You spend a lot of time on that floor. Your children are on that floor. Your grandchildren are on that floor. Your pets are on that floor. Wood is wood.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to make an investment, again, back to where I would spend my money, I would spend it on the floor. And I really would suggest that you look at other alternatives other than vinyl plank. Like you can get engineered floors. There are a lot of different ways to save money on hardwood floor. But I personally, anytime a client's brought up vinyl plank, I just say, you're talking to the wrong audience. I don't agree with it.
It's so interesting. I love that too.
From an environmental standpoint, that's
I hadn't
huge.
thought of that. Because you are seeing that flooring, even in
Everywhere,
some high-end homes, it's cheap. Yeah.
But you know what? It is the first thing I notice in a home. And it's when I walk into a home that is a high-end home, even if I go into the basement, because I'm a stickler about that, start as you mean to go. If you can't afford that hardwood floor downstairs, put in tile, do an engineered floor, do anything other than putting in something cheap. It just doesn't match the home. So it's one of the first things I look to for quality.
Yeah.
I would not personally ever, even if my budget was small, I'd rather do something else.
Interesting. Okay, that's great.
Question I've got for you, and you know, something I was aware of yesterday. I was doing an evaluation on a home, and really, I mean, we're in an extremely tight real estate market. There's hardly anything for sale. Lots of people are deciding to not sell.
Yep.
And spend money renovating.
Yep.
And I was looking at it, you know, in determining the list price of a house, thinking, okay, well, what else is competing? Nothing. What has sold that compares well? Really nothing. And then a replacement cost. You know, I knew how much the land was worth, and then you know, it's a newer home.
Yeah.
What would you use as a mid-range, as a high range on, do you work with that sort of number? Is $500 a square foot reasonable? Is $300?
It's tough. I think that we are in a supply chain crisis. We're in a shipping crisis. So putting numbers like that are very difficult. And we, in our building division, are very careful about doing actual pricing before we will even quote a client. So we don't quote. I would say that whatever you thought was reasonable a year ago, you can crank that by at least 25% based on just the cost of building. The other thing too that is not taken into account is the time. We are definitely longer in a build than we used to be.
Yes.
So pricing right now is a very slippery slope.
Yeah.
I would say that if you're going to do something like that, actually put the money into having someone build an actual price with the materials that you're going to use. Otherwise, you know,
It's a guessing game.
Well, it's a guessing game. And for me to say it, I might be saying it to get your business, but I am not basing it on anything factual. So it's no different than if I was going to ask a software company to develop a piece of software for me and I said, tell me what it's going to cost. They'd say, well, we have no idea what you want to build. How can we answer that question? So those numbers that are thrown around, I don't put a lot of stock in them.
Yeah, it makes complete sense.
It really does. Yeah. And yet, you know, in the Kelowna market, I don't find that people, you know, really a lot of builders don't talk on a cost per square foot.
Yeah.
Maybe in condos, we see a bit more of it.
Yeah.
But lots of people in other markets, you know, they come in and say, okay, well, if I buy a lot, how much is it going to cost me to build a house? And, you know, it's a wide open question.
It really depends. Like you could literally spend, you know, $220 a square foot on a home. That same home could end up being $600 or $700 a square foot. It depends what you finish it with. Like your finishing costs are so incredibly related to what your cost of per square foot is going to be. So I don't know. It's a tough one to answer. It varies dramatically.
Yeah.
I like that though. I think that's a smart answer on a case by case situation rather than a blanket statement to try and get business.
Yeah, we're not generalists, we're specialists. So when we do it, we take the time and we might come in at that higher price, but it's going to be based on something real.
Yes, I love that. So another question is, you know, lots of people ask us and say, okay, a designer, because we'll often say to people, well, maybe get a designer before you do renovations or do any of this. Get someone else's opinion. And they say, well, I don't think I can afford that. You know, is a designer something, you know, a lot of people think it's really expensive and not everybody can afford it. And I think to some degree that's true, but does it matter how big of a job it is? Can you elaborate a bit more
I
on
think
that?
it costs you more money to not work with a designer. I know from a builder's standpoint, there are builders that will not work with clients without designers. We do a lot of things that are extremely, extremely cost saving. One is we have everything planned before you start. So one of the biggest holdups in a build is not having all the materials planned or not, you know, having a client put something in, they change their mind, they have to pull it out. Time's a killer on your money. This is from going back to my other career, but when you're doing a build, it's all about getting your build done on time. So having a designer involved usually eliminates a lot of the running around, makes it so that your decisions are based on the whole palette of the house. But like, let's fast forward. It's all fine to say right now we have spent this money and we can't afford it. Go to sell the house and you got two identical homes and one person used a designer and one person didn't. And you can tell the difference.
Absolutely.
And so now you're facing that the curb appeal, inside curb appeal and exterior curb appeal are greatly impacted by the choices that you've made. So I think that's important. Plus we know where to spend money and where not to. Like the same, that question back to your flooring question, I can save money on a lot of things. But on some things, you need to spend the money on them because the product breaks down. Sometimes it's the product breaks down. Or it is not going to be suiting your style or it's not going to be flowing with the level of money you've spent on everything else, the finishes. So we can save you money that way too.
Wow. No, that makes sense. Absolutely.
And cost-wise, what does it cost? Again, it kind of comes back to that scope of work.
Yeah.
You know, if you're needing a little bit of guidance, if you're prepared to do a lot of the leg room, you can afford a designer because all you're looking for is them to concur with you on what it is you put out there. If you want us to do it all, it's going to cost quite differently. Get a quote. That's what I always recommend. Just get a quote. It doesn't cost anything to talk to somebody. And even if they do charge you an initial consultation, it's worth it to find out. It might be less than you think depending upon what you need done.
Well, and we've all gone in homes that are disjointed, that are, don't flow well, that you walk through and go, they've just missed it. And I don't have that eye to know how to do it. I have an eye to appreciate it once it's done. And but I'll go in some of these. I can think actually of one property in particular right now. And you walk in and think, okay, on their own, the elements are quite good, but all together, they really don't work.
No.
Or
there's too much.
Yeah.
Yes.
And maybe
that's a big thing.
Yeah. It's the same question that I probably could sell my own home, but would I do it as well as you? Would I get the right price? And what is the cost of my time to pull me away from the lane I'm supposed to be in? So if I'm out designing and that's my job and I'm off for 6 months figuring out how to sell my own home, I have maybe saved money on my realtor fees, but I've lost money in my own vocation and my mental health because it's hard. It's a hard job. Very difficult.
Well, in real estate, it's emotional, so really having the design approach to a home when you walk through and it feels good, that counts for something.
It does. And on the other side too, the emotions on our side are, it is so stressful making a million decisions on a home. Like a home is death by decision. And the other issue too is if you are not able to relate to your builder, because builders are A to B, they want to get it done.
Yes.
They are not there to talk about your paint color. They do not want to know and go with you on your tile appointment. They are not interested.
No.
And so your relationship with your builder is always stronger if someone else is handling that piece. Right? Having someone in between is actually kind of a nice thing.
Well, and I think also too, from a marriage point of view, it's handy to have somebody that we find it a lot being a realtor, dealing with a couple, and selling a house. And I can imagine it's the exact same with the designer to go, okay, you want this. I mean, you helped us with
counseling,
with chairs.
Yes.
And I was thinking, okay, should we do these chairs? And my husband's like, well, I want a big comfy chair. And I'm like, oh,
you're like, but I want it to look nice.
Yeah, I'm like, I want you to be comfortable, but not too comfortable.
Yeah.
So,
totally
you helped us, guide us to make sure it was the right fit.
Yes.
And we were both happy. So
marriage counseling.
Yeah.
But it's like that anytime you're dealing, even on investments. I mean, my training was back when I dealt with people with their money. The most emotional thing for people above their health is their money.
Yes.
So if you can counsel them through their money, you can certainly counsel them through the color of the couch or the comfiness of the couch or whatever else.
Yes, it's true.
So smart. And really, I think buying investment pieces, spending money in the right spot will actually ultimately save you money, because I know that's something we've seen where people put in, laminate floors when those were big for a while. We don't really see that much anymore.
I'd rather see that over the vinyl, by the way.
Interesting.
Okay, interesting.
And people would spend money and go, well, eventually I'll be able to change it and rip it out at great expense. You take out flooring, you're usually replacing baseboards.
And you're moving furniture, and there's a whole array of issues. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's true. So what trends do you see sort of coming? And I say the word trends, but what sort of things are you seeing for 2022?
What moods are people in?
Well, a lot of people are going less pattern, which again, I always preface it by saying, do what you love. Don't go timeless, but a lot less pattern. Metal doors is something that I've seen is coming out. Very futuristic, a lot of futuristic things where furniture that has zero lines, so you don't know how they built the furniture. There's no joints, there's nothing. It's just a continuous piece. We're seeing a little bit of that. Appliances trending towards color.
Okay.
And that's inspired by a lot of these Le Corneau, these French stoves, as well as from the commercial lines like True. So we're seeing a little bit of a trend that way. Kitchens are coming with 2 dishwashers, which I feel like I'm ahead of the curve on because I did that. My husband was like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, because I actually hate doing dishes. And I hate that, if you have people over for a dinner party and you've had 10 people, you're 2 dishwasher loads. So I was ahead of the curve on that. Dishwasher drawers throughout the house are big. The fridge drawers, additional fridge space. So I think COVID's done a couple things. We've all been at home. We're cooking more. We're entertaining more in a home rather than in a restaurant. So I think we're doing a little more focus on that piece, which I actually really like.
Yeah.
Some of the other trends that are happening, I think a lot of wood elements are still very big. Mixing a little bit industrial into the Scandinavian side seems to be something that is occurring. Yeah, there's a lot of still, I don't find that we ever have wholesale changes year to year, but the styles change just a little bit. So adding that industrial side to the Scandinavian style is the kind of one of the changes they've made this year.
And what about colors? I mean, we've already talked a lot of white, and white's a great color and base, but are you seeing, crazy different paint colors?
All over the map. Pastel hues are becoming quite big.
Yes.
Starting to see some of those. I think if you follow products and you follow fashion, you'll see the trend of color. Yes. So we're starting to see a lot of very interesting color combinations as well. Again, ultimately, color is mood. So be very, very careful what you put into your home, because it really can, in a bedroom, screw up your sleep patterns. And in a home, it can be an inhibitor to your mood in terms of uplifting you. So yeah, that's what the caution on color would be.
Well, that makes me think of a house. Remember the house that we'd had a few years ago? I hope I'm not insulting the owner of the home now. But they did a beautiful backsplash, but they put little pops of teal tile into the backsplash. Yeah. And you were stuck with that. You were really set on having teal, and your tea towels, whatever you had needed to be that. And it really made it tough. It was beautiful and it looked great and kind of had that beach house sort of feel, but
it's not for everybody.
No.
And you're limiting, if you are looking for resale, you're limiting who is going to buy that, because not the last thing, but I think, and I'm asking you guys this, most people when they buy a house don't really want to go through a renovation right away.
No.
I mean, if you can avoid it and you can actually buy those homes that are like move-in ready, that is the dream. It's fine to do a little bit of changing around, but tile is a tough one to change in a house.
It is.
It's not easy.
I mean, we had another property just recently with a very bold color on the walls, and it was gorgeous.
Yeah.
It was really gorgeous in person.
Yeah.
But it was very strong, really a very strong personality or feel in the home. And we'd get good activity on the home. It was really hard to capture it properly in photos, but it had been captured, and lots of people looking at the home
that would decide against it just on that.
And they changed it. They had it painted an off-white, similar to what we've got here.
And it probably sold, right?
And it sold.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people are not very visual. So back to that interior design piece that I really encourage people to do is use renderings. We do 3D renderings and walkthroughs for 90% of the jobs that we do. We have people on staff that do them. They are so photorealistic, you would not know you're not looking at a completely done place. We actually have to put in our posts, this is a 3D rendering. That's how good they look. Wow. But what is so impactful is it takes that guesswork away. So now you're not saying, oh my gosh, should I do the white cabinets in the kitchen with that backsplash? I'm not sure how that's going to look, because it imports the exact product.
Oh,
it's not just like they're not just putting a, this is a similar, no, it is the tile. It is the furniture. It's amazing the difference on it. So again, for your street curb or your street appeal and your selling appeal, if you have those clients that are looking to do, or not selling their property, and they want to know if they should make the changes, that's how you can know how different it'll look.
Wow.
Even for people who are pre-selling projects, we do that.
So I was just going to ask you that next.
For towers.
Okay.
For, if you're doing a development and you want to put out 5 different styles of homes, we can pre-do all of the interiors. So you'll see everything down to the rugs and the furniture and the window coverings.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing.
Very
and
helpful.
Buyers want that, and I think are looking for that. Particularly if somebody's moving here from out of town, they don't know where to go. They don't know how to get things.
Yeah. Renderings are a huge asset for us and for anybody in sales.
Well, it just goes to that point that people can't visualize. When it used to be, you'd look at blueprints and go, okay, I think the bathroom is good, or the kitchen's
how do you know
nice,
until you're able to see the perspective of walking through a home? You don't know whether or not the size is there. And that's a tough one. I mean, we do that when we receive blueprints for a client's home. Oftentimes we are behind the 8 ball a bit on the design. Yep. It feels like you would have liked to have been involved in the drawing of the project, because I've seen rooms that are way too big to fill. And conversely, I've seen rooms that are so small you can't properly put furniture in it. So having the ability to get a hold of that piece ahead of time is huge.
Wow.
So that leads me to another question. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see a builder,
I love that question.
Builder doing in building a house? Like, we see some when we walk through a house and we're like, but
Well,
what do you see?
Every room, when you enter a home, that should be a visual. That should be your best view of the home. So one of the things I hate is walking into a wall. Like you walk into a space, especially, and I've seen lakeshore homes where you walk in, they put a wall right in the entryway.
Yes.
You want to be able to see the lake from when you walk in. So whatever you're walking into, really think about that. Same goes for a bathroom. I don't want to see your toilet when I walk into your bathroom. Please put the toilet to the side. No one wants to see that. That's an awful way to walk into a room. Yes. So think about how you're walking in.
Now, what about feng shui? Because that was something we used to hear about a lot.
Yeah,
that you didn't want to walk in a home and have the energy going right out. Mm-hmm. So I think there was some of that. We really haven't heard that phrase in a while.
Yeah, I think, again, I don't deal with that very often. I haven't been asked that by many of my clients. But I would say really think about the way that you're going to be using the room. Think about the functionality of the room. We can change a lot of things after. But when you walk into a room like a kitchen, you have to think about how you're going to work in that room. So mentally prepare yourself for now you're at the sink and you're going to be starting to cook. Where do you want to face? Do you want to face the lake? Do you want, or your view? Do you want to face the window? Do you want to not have your sink that way? If you don't do dishes and you are like me and you just use dishwashers, it doesn't matter. But you want to think about what you're looking at. Bedrooms, do you want to wake up in the morning, have your blinds open and see your view?
Right. Yes.
Where are you going to put your bed? That's going to dictate where you put your switches on your wall. It's going to dictate where your TV is. If you have a TV in your room, can you have a TV in your room? A lot of these questions are based on really walking through the spaces to make sure they're properly allocated in terms of space.
That's a great point. So, and I think a lot of times some builders don't. They put the plan together that's like, okay, you walk in here and it functions and it is functional, but it's
not really the builder's job. I mean, this is where it comes down to roles. Agree. The builder's there to build your plan. There are design builders that I would say it's their job because they are actually involved in the design of your home, but it's all down to your designer and who's ever doing your construction drawings. Yes. That's where you have to start. Like you literally, once you have bought your property, even sometimes before you bought your property, you should be talking to those two people to make sure you can put on the property what you want. And then they help you design your plan. Mm-hmm. So I think that there's a bit of a role misconception.
Yes.
Your builder is there. They take your construction drawings. They build it. That's their job.
Yes.
It's not up to them to tell you how big your rooms are or whether the flow is good.
I mean, we did a reno. We renovated a house a number of years ago, but essentially ended up flattening it right out. Had a woman that helped us and it worked, other than we had no linen closet. Nowhere in the house was there anywhere to put towels, sheets.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Toilet paper. Huge mess.
Yes.
And it didn't occur to me nor to Derek until we were well living in it and unpacking, going, where do you put that stuff?
Yeah.
Front hall closets are a big one. We don't always see.
It's true. You don't see that. Getting better now, but you walk into some houses and you're like, really? There's no front hall closet?
Yeah.
We don't have a front hall closet.
Yeah.
We have a back hall closet.
Yeah. But where do you hang your coats?
Yeah.
Where do you hang your guest coats?
That's it.
Yeah. And that's where having someone who's done a lot of homes is a really big asset. Having someone who's had the experience of doing a new home build because they have had to think of all of those things. Sometimes it's how you bring your groceries in. You park your car. That's one of my pet peeves. I do not want to park my car and have to go through 3 different rooms to get to my kitchen. Right. I want as quick a shot into my kitchen as I can.
Yeah.
Whoever's job it is in the house to do something should design that piece. So if you're doing the construction drawings and you don't buy groceries or you don't cook or you don't deal with the children, you are not necessarily going to know, unless you've done it for a number of years and you've had someone's educated you, you're not going to know the easiest way to get it done. Mm-hmm. You have to think about the person who's doing it. So some time spent with the client to say, tell me what it's like when you do this job. What do you want? Which side, when you're loading your dishwasher, which side do you load it from? Are you right-handed or left-handed? Wow. What a huge thing if someone took the time to ask you. I had one client we did it for. They were left-handed. And we actually, this is at the very beginning of my career, we actually put the dishwasher on the right because we are trained to think right-handed.
Of course.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah. So as I'm looking here going,
which side?
They've got it on the left.
Yes.
From where the sink is.
Yeah.
Wonder if one
But think about when you're at home, I always unload to the right. So that would be a real mind block for
me.
me.
It would be.
It would annoy me.
It would. You'd have to think about it. Like it would.
Just these subtle little things.
Yeah.
My head's still going back when you were talking about things that you're seeing or things that are popular now with these refrigerator drawers.
Right.
Because we're starting to see them pop up in houses, in family rooms and in offices. You know, as home office has become so important with people working.
I love it.
And it looks like a piece of cabinet.
I will say this. I'm not sure who loads those things because we have a fridge up in our TV room. And that thing has become, the only thing that's ever been there are snacks that my son leaves for, like, I'm talking months. And then if I have a coffee maker up there, so cream will sometimes be in that fridge, but I can't get my head around whose job it is. This comes back to that. We're talking about business planning and the accountability chart. I need somebody to be accountable for loading that fridge and for unloading it when things go bad. Cause my brain can't get over that.
It's true.
Yeah, I can see that
Who's putting the snacks in there? Do you have a person that puts the snacks in that fridge?
Who can I get?
Who loads the water? I'm not
snack
sure who
loader.
does that.
Yeah, snack
that's
loader.
a whole
But
other
you're
job.
right, 'cause
That is.
Just seeing these drawers in houses and they've got all the bottles of little Pellegrino.
I know, but who does that?
Things.
Also, do you want snacks that accessible? Let's be fair.
I do.
Yes.
It's
yeah,
true.
you do.
I
Yeah. I don't want them that accessible. I like to go downstairs.
What I would love is a little fridge, like a little one in my ensuite.
Yeah.
Just to put your makeup, like to put your creams and
Yes.
stuff. To keep
My
them
daughter
nice.
has one of those. You can
Does
get
she?
those at, I think it's Urban Outfitters. They're these cute little fridges that she keeps all her, I'd
love a drawer. Like, wouldn't that be neat just to have
Yeah.
your cooling creams? I mean, I know
That's a great
But
idea.
easy to do.
Easy to do.
If that's your lifestyle. I've been in a client's or closet and they have a wine fridge in there. But she gets ready in there and she has a glass of wine. I would love that.
Could you introduce me?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
She
exactly.
sounds
Yeah,
great.
she's super fun. Yes.
It
No,
must
but having
be a phenomenal closet.
yeah, it
though.
is
Like,
a phenomenal
it's, you know,
closet.
where
Little
you-
wine fridge, and you have your glass of wine.
Yes.
Well, if you're
I
getting
love
ready
that.
for a special night or something, that's
Yeah, like every night,
could become
like
a bit problematic
Tuesday
for me.
I'm like, it might be too easy.
yeah, exactly. Like the fridge in the TV room. Not good. Not good.
Not good. So we're going to be, I mean, it seems crazy to think, but we will be coming up soon to people going outside more and summer weather and spring. I know, thank goodness, let's get sooner. And it's cold today, but hopefully this is the last of it. But what are you seeing for outdoor trends? Or what is your number one piece that you see for people to create an outdoor living space?
Yeah, like think of the resorts you visited and why you like it. What's the feel? Are there places in the world that you've traveled that you just get a sense of, I could be outside and really enjoy this? So what I like to think about is the backyard typically is done in one level. It doesn't have to be. You can have various elevations in your backyard. This all comes down to a new build. So if you're doing a new build, think about that. Your house you can stagger things in your backyard to make it a different elevation, which is how a resort feels.
Yes.
If you think about resorts, they have varying levels of things. The other thing too is that we've become this very open concept society. You know, I don't like that. I like a little privacy. I like little areas where you can have an area where you can go and sit and read. Where your kids might be, if you have a pool, your kids might be playing at the pool, but you don't have to be up front and
center.
Exactly. If there's one thing again that COVID has taught us is that sometimes too much time together can
We
be
need space.
too much. So I like a bit of a staggered home.
I like
so
that.
think about ways of creating a little bit of a lone area that you can have. Things like a piece of patio furniture that's more like a swing. Like you think about those properties. I'm thinking of, I think it's the Marriott in Hawaii, in Wailea, that has this incredible couple tree swings.
Yes.
Do you know the property
Yes,
I
I
mean?
do.
Because we see you
Amazing.
there often.
Yes.
And I love sitting on that swing. I've been trying to get a swing on my property for 2 years. It's going to happen this year.
Wow.
Just feels very much like
Resort, relaxing.
Plus, there's something about the throwback to being a kid.
It is. You're right. And it's intimate. Like you just, it's that.
You let go.
Yeah, you do. You're
Yes.
right.
Everyone needs a swing, so let's all get a swing this year.
I saw
love that.
what house were we in not that long ago? They had a swing in the living room. They had like an adult
Yes,
swing.
yes.
They didn't have kids. They'd be in their late 20s, early 30s. I'm trying to remember. I went looking at the house
unique,
for the first
right?
time. I was on the swing. I was doing my presentation and building rapport while swinging.
Yeah, I
didn't get the listing.
It's
I'm not
reminiscent
sure.
of being a child, and it's also, you think about it, like when we have babies, we rock the baby. There's something about it that's very soothing. You have to think about your own mental health. So your house and your backyard both inside and outside, should speak to your mental health. This is your oasis.
I like that.
When you go home, this is the place, right? It has to be the place. So don't wait until you're ready to sell your house to make it that way. That's the biggest mistake I see. You could have lived in this home with it looking as good as it did when you sold it. Like, I've watched people refinish their house and say, well, now I don't want to sell it.
We hear it all the time.
We do.
Such a mistake.
They look at the brochure and go, oh, I really should have done this.
Yes, who knew?
Yeah.
Well, and in the market that we're seeing right now with, a lot of people reach out and say, okay, well, I would sell or I'd be interested in selling, but there's nowhere to go.
Right.
And you were saying, Trisha, that you're seeing people decide to stay.
Oh, yeah. And there are
reinvesting in their own homes.
You can do so much.
Great.
You can do so much. And what I love about that is oftentimes the older properties are the better properties. They just haven't had an update. You see some of the lots today and they're the postage stamp lot. Whereas you get one of these beautiful homes that is on an actual normal size lot, what we used to consider normal.
Yes.
You can't recreate that anymore.
No.
That's really
so
hard.
True.
Big trees, lots of privacy.
Yes.
A lot easier to thin trees or limb them up.
Wider streets.
Yes.
Like, even when you look at the city planning now, the streets are getting narrower. I love that you can actually have like some of those old roads like Abbott. You drive down Abbott, you see the trees, and we don't get that in the new subdivisions.
No.
So renovations are critical right now. I think they're where we're going.
And that's something it's great
point.
it's great for our clients and everybody that's watching to sort of look and go, okay, we're thinking of selling, but you can't find. Yeah. Have you come and look at, okay, what can we do to our existing house?
We love that. That piece is because we have our team has someone on staff that does the construction drawings. So we have the ability of really throwing that unique design on the plans. So it actually makes it a shorter process. So for those people, we're doing a lot of renovations right now, but for those people who buy these properties and they just can't figure out how to make it what they want, bring a designer in.
Yes.
Have somebody come in and sort of speak to where you could take it, what we could do with it. I think it's all about being that visual person. You need somebody who's visual, who can actually see through the ugly wood they use or the ugly staircase or whatever.
Or the walls. Like, I think there's lots of people that live in places right now that think, oh, well, it's too small. Of course, because COVID has got everybody.
What if we move a wall?
Move a wall. So have, your team
Build an
come
extension.
and exactly.
Yes.
You need more space to do that.
Yeah, huge, for sure.
So,
and I think it really makes a lot of sense going forward as we have a limited supply on real estate until we change that, which I'm not sure what will happen there, blow out a mountain or something.
Easy.
Yeah, just move a mountain. But I think until then, we're going to be looking at a lot more of that style.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Any other design sort of type questions that we have?
Oh, a quick one that one of our clients asked us to ask you is why, you don't have to spend a fortune on lighting, but there are light fixtures that are $100,000.
Yes. This is a save. I always say splurges and saves. So I don't think you have to spend that much on a light fixture. In fact, I would say that 95% of the light fixtures in your home can be very reasonable. There are so many knockoffs to some of them, the really beautiful pieces that have been created. You find it throughout. If a company like Hudson Valley makes it, there's going to be 5 or 6 other companies that have done a knockoff on it. So where the impactful light fixture should be above your dining room, because you're sitting so close to it and you're probably going to have your guests looking at it. They're going to see anything that doesn't look right. And it also is a very impactful space for it. I would say above your island and in your entryway. Those are the 3 areas that I would really spend the money on lights. The rest of them, you can get away with some great steals and some knockoff versions of it. The reason they cost more is because it depends on what they're finishing it with.
Right.
So like a lot of sense. If they're using real crystal, if they're using a heavier grade metal, there's a lot of reasons, or it's a designer brand, right?
No, that makes sense.
That's good.
Any other sort of tips that you can pass along or anything like the lighting one? That's a great one. It just made me think, okay, is there any other sort of
I'll give you a really
things?
good tip for building.
Yeah.
You need to know the 3 most important priorities you have are going to be one of 3 things. You're going to have the budget, the timeline, and the quality. And you need to figure out what's most important to you on your build. And that is what's going to guide your builder. That's what's going to guide your designer. So if your top priority is quality, your timeline's going to be longer and your budget's going to be bigger.
Okay, so say them again.
Okay, yeah.
Budget, timeline, and quality. And I know a lot of builders that work with this, and they talk to their clients ahead of time. Tell me of those three things. What is the game changer for you? If it's budget, okay, that's a completely different client to me. So knowing that ahead of time and knowing if you end up with budget and you end up with countertops that are, not very interesting, you've talked to your designer, you've talked to your builder, you've told them that that's what you wanted. So you really need to be clear about that, knowing you can't get all three.
Yes.
Wow.
It's impossible.
That is such valuable information.
Is great advice.
And I think that's valuable whether you're renovating, whether you're renovating to sell, renovating to stay.
Even for furniture.
Or building.
At the end of the day, and I see people panicking right now about buying furniture, and then they buy crappy furniture because they have to have it. At the end of the day, that's throwing good money at bad.
Yes.
Wait for the piece. I guess it's going to take longer, but I think our whole frame of mind has to change. It isn't the way it was 2 years ago.
No. Well, and you brought up sustainability back when we were talking about flooring. And I think that's something, we're hearing of more and more people. I'm seeing it. I'm hearing it of people say, okay, well, I want something made in Canada. I want something that is, sourced ethically. That's, that's in our food. That's in the vehicles we're driving. And it must be in elements of a home too. Yeah.
And some of it is obtainable. I will say that, if you want a completely Canadian made home, your budget's going to be bigger.
Yes. Way bigger. Yeah.
So you might want it, but your budget might not be able to afford all of it. So again, it's knowing where to spend and where not to spend. That's what we're most valuable for.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I love that. It's
Makes
great.
me want to build.
Perfect. Done.
Sign up.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and in 3 years, Tamara, you can move in.
Yes, exactly. And I think timelines, probably if you're building a standard house, you're 12 to 14 months is what we're seeing.
Wow.
Yeah. Used to be about 8 to 10, but that's where we're seeing. If you've got a builder, one of the tips I can give you is choose a builder that does a multitude of builds. I know that isn't always a popular way, but I'll tell you why. Because their trades are busy with them all the time.
And reliable.
Right.
And don't leave to go do another job.
If you're a one-off builder and you do one home a year, the chances are that if your electrician is working with another builder who does 12 homes a year, guess who the priority call is to?
And has to be, justifiably so. That makes sense.
It does make sense. That's interesting, though, because a lot of times people think, I want to be with the builder who's going to be, mainly hands-on and does one house and that.
Their teams can be huge. The builders can have many project managers, but if they have multitude of jobs, they have trades that work with them exclusively.
It makes sense.
For right now, and not every market's the same, but for right now, that's really what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Wow. It makes sense, actually.
So before we sort of sign off,
yes.
What is your favorite room in a house?
Honestly,
even in your house,
my bedroom.
Oh, okay.
And I've had to walk back this. Like if I'm home alone or if I have downtime, I don't go anywhere but my bedroom. I sit on my bed. I have the same routine. I've had it in all the homes I've ever had, and that's where I relax. I'm sitting in bed either watching a show or reading a book or writing something down, but that seems to be the room that I gravitate to.
That's your sanctuary.
That's my sanctuary. So it has to be awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh,
Mine would be kitchen, because when my downtime, I like to cook, so I would be...
Yeah, mine's probably kitchen or my family room with my new chairs that I got from you.
Yeah,
I love them.
Interesting. Such great, valuable and sort of fun information, yet really helpful.
Well, it's always nice. I love the real estate and design crossover. I think we see so many of the same things.
Oh, we do. Yeah, we really do.
So you've got to check out, Trisha, what's your website? How can people find you?
It is isabeyinteriors.com, and then the store is furnishedbyisabey.ca.
Okay, perfect. And
the store's online too?
Oh, yes. We have online shopping on the store.
Oh, no. I'm doomed.
I know. Shop from your bed or your kitchen or your TV room. Yes.
Done.
Yes.
If you haven't been to the store or haven't gone onto the website, you must go. It is honestly,
and we've just
amazing.
done this fabulous refresh, and our little container that was a Christmas container is now a kitchen and bath shop.
Oh.
And I did it all myself, so I've done 16,000 steps to make that thing work. That's my little gift to everybody in the Okanagan.
Oh, I love it. Okay, we will definitely come and check it out.
So we're free today about 3?
Yeah, perfect.
We will be there.
Love it.
Thank you so much. That was
my pleasure.
amazing.
Thank you for having me.
All right.